Leafy Greens.
When Leafy Greens was
With Leafy Greens and
Dear Leafy Greens.
Leafy Greens.
And that Leafy Greens.
Compared to Leafy Greens.
Leafy Greens.
Of course, Leafy Greens.
Leafy Greens. Who is this? Thing that sounds like a piece of, like a cabbage that you'd find in Tesco's or somewhere.
Well, let me tell you who, why, as well as the people that have been affected and hurt, and hopefully this story can be over.
Am I scaring you, scaring you, scaring you, scaring you yet? Or do you like the smell of lost girls with twin holes in their necks? Walk away ashamed, believing all men are barbarians. Trying to be real, but I'm delusional. Fighter, I freeze or I run towards the arms of abusers and junkies and losers who spit on my spirit till it's gone. I want you to feel what I feel. Everyone, my name's Emily Eveland. I'm a 25-year-old journalist, memoirist, and songwriter. I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder in 2014, reactivity and substance abuse. And though I was sober when I entered my DT program in 2014, my life still resembled that simply because I had no control over my emotions and the littlest thing would set me off.
As a writer myself, I've always gone by the premise of show, don't tell. As you can see right now, there's not really a whole lot to show. So who is Leafy Greens, aka Leif Levin, aka Emily Eveland? She is a writer, a songwriter, musician, overall artist, along with many other things that are described on her website, which is still up. However, the YouTube videos that would go with it are not. I happen to really like this article about toxic people and how to spot them and remove them from your life, but that video's gone. There's a lot of blogged articles, different writings. That's usually her focus. And her work seems to be centered around mostly creative nonfiction. I'd say that I even struggled to find a piece that was purely fiction, admittedly. She also does have a page up about her band, or her music project rather. Nevertheless, she delivers on her statement of being a writer, with most of the material that you can find on her basically being the stories that she's had published on numerous online websites. She also did have a website based on her services that she can offer as a writer regarding editing, actual projects, interestingly investigative reports, and personal letters, and then as well as mentoring with varying sessions that you can get with her one-on-one. There's still a good bit more about the online publications, which was pretty much similar to the site that she still has up. I noticed, however, on this site, she's starting to refer to herself differently now as Leif Levin. Suffice to say, most of her writing definitely had a particular theme. As I stated earlier, a lot of it was creative nonfiction, mostly based on experiences that she had that were definitely rough around the edges, and eventually the story that would gain notoriety.
A viral blog post titled, "My friends and I beat up my rapist and I will never apologize for getting revenge," is igniting discussion about vigilantism and the justice system. The author, Emily Eveland, says she was raped by an acquaintance who drugged her. She said she had no faith in the justice system, so she recruited 3 friends to go inside the rapist's house and attack him. While she says she does not advocate for all survivors to follow her route, she does not apologize for her actions.
So I think at this point we're pretty much all caught up on the background and how she got to YouTube. She had a channel for about a year, I believe, before the incident with the rewired soul happened.
Well, my understanding is this individual that called was genuinely concerned about your well-being.
You know why this happened is because a public figure told people to conduct a wellness check on me as a form of manipulation so that I would look crazy.
We do wellness checks on people daily. And
I understand that. You can say that all you want, but the people who are talking to me about this shit are trying to portray me as a crazy person.
However, it was that incident that gained a lot of attention for her. While users were looking into more about her, they then also saw the claims that she made and the story behind her past. Many people were supportive, many wanted to reach out, and also many admired and looked up to her, including myself. When I saw that she wanted to put together a Discord server, well, you know me, I'm just the nerd that can't resist. At any rate, and of course there was the backlash, which was understandable, and there were so many people that were concerned, so many that thought that she had been done wrong. And me, who is someone that deals in online safety and security, thinking that this was a way of somebody trying to tell her, I know where you live. So of course I was concerned and wanted to help out. My interest in helping people is essentially, it's a way of my own healing. I introduced myself and told her I was interested in helping her out with her server, that I knew a lot about security, that I knew a good bit about staying safe online because I genuinely was concerned for her, got her a VPN, had it installed, made sure that it was working properly on her computer, and then the moment came where apparently I crossed her. As you can see from the DMs shared, I wasn't the only person, but as soon as I said that, all of a sudden I became the worst person. While I tried to reach out to her, she wasn't particularly receptive to my private comment that I made in video format, which clearly I didn't want people to see based on what I was wearing. But nonetheless, that is where the lie that wouldn't die started.
People hacking into YouTubers' computers and threatening to override their system so that they're forced to stop streaming. I see you, bitch. I see you. I know you did that. How do you feel about that? Because I don't feel good about it. To try to force me to stop so that she could control the video that I made about Primmy.
That I wasn't so impulsive, and that instead of making a live stream about what happened with Primmy, that I'd made an actual video and
my gut was screaming not to listen to her, so ultimately I didn't.
The fact was that I was too emotional and I just talked about it in a live stream.
Did you hear that? Yeah, that's the sound of the apology I'm never fucking getting. That spread like wildfire, and the thing that was an issue is the fact that at this point, no one had done any wrong to Leif but me, and nobody knew who I was. So while there have definitely been people that have been thrown under the bus, I was the roadkill, still there, until just recently. Yeah. However, I sorted it out on my own. I tried to do what I could, and actually, after I sent her that private video, the very next day is when she shut down her Discord server. Probably because she didn't know how to run one, because that's what I was doing for her. She said that she deleted it, but we all know that that's not what happened. Something I very quickly wanted to reiterate is that I'm not creating this as some sort of expose or what have you. I'm creating this to stand up for those that are scared to speak or really don't have a platform. Just a reminder, we'll be getting there. I'm gonna be one of those assholes that posts the definition of a word, but I'm doing this because I think it's funny that the program that Leif had a problem with is defined as such. So while Leif did actually delete her Discord, what she wasn't honest about was the fact that she created a new one for patrons only. Now granted, that was for any tier of her Patreon, it still meant that you had to pay to get in. This was an effort to keep out the spies. For some reason, there was this whole narrative that I had spies. I don't know why people started calling it that, but it made me sound cooler than I actually am. So if you take a look into Leif's Patreon, it states that she is creating mental health content. However, she does have multiple tiers offering a variety of things. Pretty much all of her posts are locked, and she even offers in one of her tiers video chat sessions. But I find it really interesting that she does offer this while somewhat scolding others who do the same thing. Either way, she still had a Discord. But behind a payment barrier, she was hoping to control even more so what was going on. And it was because of that less and less people could speak up, and more were scared to speak out against her. Unfortunately, her need to not be silenced was silencing others. Anything that was said against her that she did not like, she would immediately get rid of you, chastise you, delete your comment, and possibly even say something that could really do some damage. Considering that she is a part of what was the mental health community, this was both a very inconsiderate and selfish act. However, the Discord that she created wasn't as private as she thought. It soon became really clear that having a Discord server that was patron only really helped her Patreon. There's even a bit of a hump here where she first started to gain subscribers, and then there's a drop, probably where she changed the Discord. Then as soon as she was able to, she recreated it for patrons only. And then, as you can see, she gained about twice as many subscribers as she had before. Smart business move.
If only God can save us, then I'd like to create chaos, because God has yet to prove that he loves me.
Really fucked up for me to be angry about this? Or is it just fucked up because I'm a woman and you're not used to seeing an angry woman? Now I'm just sad. Now I'm just so fucking sad. I will take it out on myself. I will curl into a ball and I will dissociate for the rest of the day and I will fucking hate myself. Like, all I want is for my baby to be okay, and I don't even have time to process that because I'm getting like berated with shit.
Oh, no one should be surprised that I did this. It's my turn. Granted, this next part is really gonna take away from my, whole battle thing.
I need to see who I'm going up against.
Oh dear. So now with the patron-only Discord opened, Leif felt that it was maybe a bit easier to play the victim, since she had people that were truly on her side, because nothing says I'm on your side like $2 a month. However, as we've now come to know, not everything on the internet is entirely private, especially whenever you spout shit or try to be the victim of something that you really just aren't a victim of. I don't know, Black rights movements relating to a Black Panther because you feel as equally oppressed. Yeah, that was a thing. More likely than not be because of the way that Leif responded to things that weren't related to her. She noticed that there was less active members and blamed it on her staff member, who simply had a Discord for her gaming community. A Discord that she had had long before Leif had ever created hers. Because of this suspicion, and because of her overall growing paranoia, she decided to then boot this person. This was the start of many people starting to get scared, and it becoming more and more obvious that Leif definitely had some issues with trust. What I found fantastic, though, about the efforts of trying to, I guess, bother the Twitch streamer in question is that because of their participation and how many members were actually in the stream, this Twitch streamer then met their goal and was able to actually donate to a charity. So, thanks, you hateful bitches. Joke's on you. Unfortunately, the hate train didn't stop there. See, Leif was willing to basically go after anyone who didn't agree with her. And by anyone, I mean anyone who may have been critical, who may have not shared the same view as her. Leif decided to go after two very beloved, albeit small, YouTube creators that had given their opinion, mostly regarding being a mother and her being an expecting mother. She wasn't quite a fan of this and said some pretty nasty things in her own Discord. Leif started to suspect spies. I really don't get where this whole spy thing comes from. Again, if you don't want to worry about shit, don't be shitty.
Going to try to be a responsible freaking YouTuber, and why I do not trust and don't think you should trust the following three men: Repzilla, Driven Industry, and Primink.
Go on, I'm listening.
I did not directly call Eric Zink a predator, but I insinuated it. Someone came forward with messages between you and her. She's a teenager. You told her that you talked to upwards of 30 to 40 people per day, apparently giving them mental health advice. The mental health advice you gave this girl was to call a suicide hotline. You also told her that you would video chat with her. I have all of it.
You have all of it? That's odd. I do too. Let's look into Operation Task Force, shall we? So now, I bet this is a Google Drive that you really didn't want other people to see, but as you continue to make enemies, the more will get out, and by God, were you doing that quickly. Now see, the 3 men that you were warning us about all happen to be within this drive, which has the name of an 8-year-old with a treehouse that says "No Girls Allowed" as its code name of sorts. Meanwhile, you took it upon yourself to rifle through the users in your Discord, trying to figure out who it was that had essentially spilled the beans. You were able to see that a lot of your really unfavorable messages were posted, revealing the character that you actually are. So with that, you kicked out anybody you suspected. But the thing that I discovered within it that was the most alarming, aside from the extraordinary amount of information that you had, was this supposed text between Eric and this teenage girl. You see, you forget that I am actually really, really good with computers. Or maybe you do know. So since I had access to both sides of the story, I was able to look up the exact number, and I realized that it was actually associated with something that's called a CLEC, which essentially means that it is a purchased phone number, usually used for those that are pulling off scams. Ironic, isn't it? So let me explain what that all just meant, including the pictures of gibberish looking numbers. You see, the file that was on Task Force was actually a movie file that was clearly taken from an iPhone. The same iPhone that Leif has used to take screenshots in the past. That was taken with her iPhone. The same iPhone that I helped put a VPN on. Additionally, phone number that was utilized as this teenage girl, which by the way, I don't think was ever mentioned that she was teenaged or of what teenage she was, but that was a fake number used by scammers, mostly those of Nigerian and Indian descent, but also people that are trying to pull off a hoax. Way to go. So what you did to essentially try and slander this man was you went that far. Not only that, but the conversation on his end ended only 2 or 3 hours before the movie file was created. I'd find it really hard to believe that somebody would actually put together a conversation that they had going on in movie format and send it to you that quickly. As I've said before, there are some people that aren't tech savvy, and then there are some people that are tech sloppy. You are absolutely the latter.
Trying not to hurt you, but I want to. Trying to be real, but I'm delusional. I think I need to leave town, hop the next freight train that goes down to the bottomless pit of damnation where I belong. I'm trying not to think these awful things. Whenever I suppress them, I increase their frequency. If only God can save us, then I'd like to create chaos, because God has yet to prove that He loves me.
So some of you may be thinking, wow, Lola, you're a cunt. Hear me out. And also, keep watching. Even though Leif made it apparent on her still existing social media that she was going through some hard times, the timing of this all was quite interesting, as she seemed to be hitting these hard times just as soon as people found out what she was up to. the different videos and screenshots that were leaked from her Discord, the things that she had said, the way that she had been treating people, and the many that had started to step forward. I'm proud of those that were able to. I know how difficult it was for me, having absolutely no one that really knew me, but somebody that believed me, and other people that started to realize that what was said was absolutely absurd. Unfortunately, that false narrative still exists, but the once glowing embers of that are slowly fading away bit by bit. The one thing that was left out, however, was that, let's just say that Leif was not off of all social media, as she said. And let's say that there is absolute proof. Let's get into that. So, who is Deborah Gandy? Well, she happens to be a lady with a Twitter account who happens to like gardening, reading, decor. She also really likes Keanu Reeves. Interestingly, though, she left this tweet at someone, and it was a bit strange, a bit direct, and a bit specific. I'll let you read. This comes into play later. But looking back on Deb, it doesn't really seem that strange, aside from the subjectively nice bottom at the bottom of her page. However, when we Googled Deborah Gandy, we found that she worked with Coldwell Banker, and that the lady in the picture just happens to have a haircut that many people want. Additionally, she has a twin. We found your twin, Deb, but even more so is someone that we noticed that followed her. Someone that has been quite devoted to Leif since the get-go. Someone that really doesn't like me and probably won't like the fact that I found her. But you gave it away. And here's how. I'll spell it out for you. On April 15th, the same day that this tweet was sent out, the workplace of a young lady was contacted by an Emily Evelyn. They were contacted in regards to several social media posts by this particular person. As you can see from the actual tweet, they are being indicative of manipulative, sharing the thoughts of others, harassing people, etc. Clearly taken out of context and not true. It was then 2 days later that Leif, on her Patreon, then said that she actually deactivated all of her social media, and that she said that she wouldn't be using it and that she was struggling. She was going to start reporting people to the police because it was a supposed felony to stalk and harass a person in Minnesota. That it's not. This was simply to scare people. Then the fact that she says, hopefully some of these people will face consequences, especially those who work in the mental health field. 2 days later, on her Patreon post, she says that she's healing from an incident, but this time it went too far. She blames all of the fallout on this young woman who she has in turn stalked online, called their place of work, and had a Twitter account dedicated to scaring them. In the Patreon thread, it says, by the way, turns out the person who instigated all of this works for 2 suicide hotlines and a behavioral health center. Hopefully that will change soon. Not only is it clear that Emily Evelyn called this woman's place of work, she harassed her on social media, bragged about it, and then stated that she hoped that the woman would lose her job. This individual did nothing but expose how vicious and poisonous you were to people in your community, things that you hid. I'm not here to attack a pregnant woman. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm here to stand up for those that you have mistreated. And the reason why I feel that I am adequate to do that job is because I was the first person you threw under the bus. Because of you, I have suffered. I have lost money. I've had people think that I am a malicious hacker, and that still perpetuates itself. I've been unable to help people in the way that I've set out, which was the whole reason I helped you in the first place. My mission is to help women feel safe online. I did this because I was healing from a recent incident of assault. This was with my way to take focus off of myself and to help others. Now, this needs to stop. The fear tactics, the behaviors, it needs to stop. You have broken terms of service on at least 4 platforms, and I'll get to that part. But here's something that we need to take into consideration as well. The real victim of all of this, because there is one. There is one person that didn't want to be a part of this, that I'm pretty sure still doesn't want to be. And because of your actions, will have potentially lifelong effects of this. That is the most selfish thing that and it needs to stop.
I just, like, all I want is for my baby to be okay, and I don't even have time to process that because I'm getting, like, berated with shit. I know you guys want me to take a break from social media, but if I don't talk about this with someone, I will have an episode.
So maybe now you'll understand that this isn't just about you. As I stated earlier, Leif has actually broken terms of service of multiple social media platforms that she has utilized. I think that it's really important for empowering people out there for them to understand there is a reason why there is a report function, why there are terms of service, why there are community guidelines. It's because they state very clearly that certain behaviors are not acceptable, such as harassment, bullying, impersonating someone that's not you. These things are not okay regardless of your situation. There isn't really an excuse for this. So it's important that we understand that it's okay to report these things, and you can report them, and with that report it does act as protection for you. I want to also make it clear that this video in and of itself is a report in itself to back up any claim that may be needed. If you have experienced any sort of harassment, bullying, threats, please report them to these sites. That's what they're there for. And if they don't respond, bug them. If they don't respond again, really bug them. And if you feel comfortable reaching out to me, I will be more than happy to help. So I'm starting off with Discord due to a recent series of unfortunate events and the way that a lot of you guys communicate with me. They outline their community guidelines pretty well. Without them sounding too wishy-washy. Essentially, don't engage in forms of harassment. Don't encourage this harassment of individuals or communities. And if somebody's doing something, block them. If you block them and they still continue to do it outside of that, then you can certainly file a report against it. Sharing content that is directly meant to harm somebody's well-being, physical or financial, is completely prohibited, and that's something that can result in immediate removal and account deletion. It's really important that you read the rules of conduct and usage, because this is what ultimately will protect you. Pay attention to what these things say and know how to report it. What's really important with Discord is that you need to know how to get a user ID. Actually, all of Discord works by utilizing IDs. In order to turn that on, you need to go to your user settings, down to appearances, down to advanced, and then toggle the developer mode on. After that, you will be able to right click on a user or message and have the ID. You will need that number in order to report a message and or user of concern. Next, The Patreon community guidelines. These definitely cover forms of bullying and harassment, hate speech, adult content, authenticity, and copyright, although in this case this doesn't particularly concern. It's really important to be aware of what their terms are. The focus here, though, is on bullying, harassment, and threats, especially if the content that is being created from the person that you are supporting is harassing and or threatening. Patreon has a big stance against that. They also speak out against harmful or dangerous activity, encouraging that you or someone that you know, if they're in danger of hurting themselves or others, to please contact local authorities and seek help. Patreon does feature articles on issue resolution, as well as what to do if you are being harassed or bullied. By all means, utilize this to absolutely send them a report or any sort of concern. And again, if they don't answer, bug them. So while I know that this information can be certainly useful and very, very helpful, I don't want to bore anybody with terms of service speak, but I will say that on these websites are absolutely places where you can submit reports. On Twitter, it's at help.twitter.com. There's totally a rule against impersonation accounts. With Instagram, I'm not particularly as familiar with their terms of service because I don't know how to Instagram, but there is something on there that definitely addresses essentially abuse and hate accounts as well as those that are promoting self-injury. So that's important to keep in mind. It has been days now since I've been working on this, and now I've finally brought it to a close. But whenever I first started doing my research, there was something that I came across that I found really, really interesting and that I thought would probably be a good framework for the story. You see, as I said earlier, I myself am a writer, and actually I went through a mentoring program at a fairly well-known arts academy. Those of you who have seen pictures of my mentor know what I'm talking about. Story for another time. At any rate, like I said, I find it both in art and writing that one of the strongest things you can do is show, don't tell. And it was ultimately this piece of writing that is by Leif Greenz that spoke the most. And with that, I leave. Be safe.
Understand my true intention, so I shiver when you're inside. It's my tongue that I bite. My words are laced in poison. I want to breathe in your cologne and feel safe in your arms. Maybe I miss my dad, but that sounds really dumb, so I'll be misconstrued. I don't want to seem rude. I'll just sleep in your bed, then regret it. You're not the only one, you're just someone for now, and no one will ever be good enough. If I can't stand myself, I am trying to win your love, but all I find's unwanted, lost. I walk away ashamed, believing all men are barbarians. I've been smoking a little too much, tapping my feet to rhythms offbeat and insignificant.
Crazy. It's like, you know, why you gotta try to hack a bitch?